Welcome back to Conversations with Chris and Crystal and Rocco too. He's visiting us this weekend again, and so we are here today to have a conversation about traffic situations, and we would love to hear from you. We'd love you to subscribe and tell us more about some of the traffic situations that you have encountered. We are in Arizona. We have a lot of different driving situations and a lot of different drivers from all over the country with their own rules and regulations, which not entirely sure that we're that much different, really, especially with turn signals.
They're all basically the same.
Yeah, turn signals seem to be an issue from state to state, as well as from car to car. I'm finding that the Lexus and the Mercedes and things like that don't have them. So anyway, so would you like to regale us with a lovely story of traffic situations in Arizona?
Well, for a while there, it was about once a week on my way to work. I was taking the freeway, and it's not the main freeway that like everybody and their dog is on. This one was one of no offense, but this one was one of the lesser freeways, and for about a month, once a week, I would be almost creamed by somebody. One time it was this semi truck trying to merge in. He had his blinker on, but I was right there, and he just starts going. It's like, do you not
Just
see
moving
me?
over? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm honking, and there was this SUV next to me, so I'm swerving that way, and he swerved into the next lane, so we all survived, but I just couldn't believe it, because semi trucks, they're supposed to be more cautious even than most people, because
Well,
CDL license. And all that.
we're discovering that from the police department, who are sadly not a very good example of good driving. And they'll tell you, "Hey, we're the police. We're not driving. We're not trying to be an example of anything." And quite obviously, that is true. That's been a
One time I was
one.
following a police car, not on purpose, but following him down the street, and he's swerving into the next lane and then back over, and then the next lane and back. I'm like, what is going on? And when I pulled up next to him at the stoplight because I was turning, I saw he was on his cell phone. It's like, so we're not supposed to do that, but you can do that?
Yeah, I noticed that again yesterday. I've been hit by a drunk driver in the past, and I really am cognizant of how drunk drivers are on the road, and I wish somebody had called long before he got to us. But, hello? Okay, you are in need of something. Okay, so they, what they'll tend to do when they're on the road, and it could be somebody impaired by something else as well, another substance abuse type situation, where they will travel all the way to the right, almost to the curb, and then come zinging back to reality and move over. And I'm finding out, and then they just wander back off to the right, and then boom, try to right themselves. And I'm finding out when I go past them, eventually, very quickly, they're on their phone too. So the phone issue is making you look like you're intoxicated. So I would be mindful of what you're doing.
Well, and what's worse than talking on the phone, because at least you can still watch what you're doing, is the texters.
Yes. That's so. Yesterday, that's what happened to me. I saw this gal, and sure enough, I go past her, and she's got something in her hand. She's looking down at her other hand. I mean, I don't know where she had a hand on the wheel. I didn't see that. So
Maybe
she was
used her
texting.
knee.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. People do that. That is true. So I figured out, either you're intoxicated or you're on the phone. So let's just figure this out, shall we? And then I had a really interesting incident.
Oh yes.
And it's just me. In fact, Chris and I were talking about this, and I said, when I come out of a grocery store or something and I want to cross, over to the parking lot, and people come zooming past me, and you're in a parking lot, for crying out loud, but they're going like 30 or 40 miles per hour in the parking lot. And I will do one of these things, like, oh, just go already. And she said, yeah, me too. I'll go, okay, you just go ahead and go. I said, no. When I do it, they know I'm ticked. You people get out of my way right now. So anyway, I was heading out of the parking lot, and a gal was coming out of the McDonald's drive-through, and they empty out into this one lane that is leaving the parking lot. And so they have really nowhere else to go. And I think it's your turn.
Okay.
Yeah. And they really have nowhere else to go. But she was not looking to the left, and I was coming from her left, and she kind of pulled out and then realized, looked to the left and stopped. And I put my finger out like, okay, you're not moving past this point here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. And I'm was like, no, okay. And I continued to go. She followed me out of that parking lot 3 miles to another grocery store that I was going to. And I thought, and I'm not saying it's not unusual that people go from one grocery store to another, and I've had that happen, but I thought, I wonder. So I drove into that parking lot, drove around the entire parking lot, like I was going to go over to the gas station and look, see what their gas was, or so. I have to make up a story. I can't just, do this. So I drive out, and I pull out into traffic again, and to take a right, and she followed me all around the parking lot. She followed me out to the street again, and I was making a right turn, and at the light, and she came up behind me, and there was so much traffic I wasn't paying attention, and it turned green, and she honked at me to go, and I okay, fine, I'll go. I went, and then she zooms around me, gets in front of me, and another mile up she turned right, and I got rid of her. But it's just amazing to me. You know what? It shouldn't be amazing to me because I used to do that. I used to follow people because I wanted them to get out, and I'd come out and say, "Are you trying to kill me, or what's your deal?" But you can't do that anymore because people carry guns.
Well, and they're crazy.
And they are crazy.
But it doesn't matter if they have a gun, if they're crazy. But yeah, I kind of speculated, well, what was it? What did she follow you, and then since you didn't stop, she cooled off and decided to go? Or
I really don't know. All I know is most of the time I'm a confronter. I'm more than happy to confront people, but that day was just not a day for me to do that. So I was not in the mood. So I thought, well, we'll find out where this person is going. I have that happen on the way home a lot of times too, and I'll go a different direction and see if they follow me because it just seems to be rampant. It just seems to be a thing to do.
You just don't know who's going to be the crazy weirdo.
No, you don't. Yeah. You don't. I know they had an incident out here. I think it's been a few years ago now. A guy, they were at a light, and one guy in a car shot the guy in the other car. And they asked him, and he killed him. And they said, why did you shoot him? And he said, because he looked at me. So, yeah, I know. You've got to be really mindful of where people's heads are at, and because a lot of times with me, I love to sometimes look at people and maybe smile.
Yeah, I do that too.
Just
we're taking our lives in our hands.
We are. So don't do that anymore. Yeah, don't do that. So did you have any other lovely incidents? I'm sure we can think of many.
Well, another time that was recently during that month when people were trying to kill me, I got off the freeway at my usual stop. And I make my turn, and the speed limit is 45, but, and I'm driving, I'm trying to get up to speed. My little car has a little hard time sometimes getting up to speed. And this giant truck was behind me, right on my hind end. I could read everything on, I could see the chips in the paint in his truck, And so I slowed down because that's my passive-aggressive way of saying, oh, you want me to go faster?
Maybe
Here's
not.
what you get. So I think I got down to like 15 miles an hour. And of course, he didn't back off. So I'm like, if you just back off, I'll speed up. But no. So we both made the right turn. And then as soon as it went into two lanes, because this was a one-lane thing before we turned. As soon as it got into 2 lanes, he whips in front of me and hits his brakes. Like he's trying to get me to hit him.
Yeah.
I thought, what a jerk. Well, this one, I did follow him. I followed him to where he worked. And, I thought later of something that would have been better for me to say, but at the time I was just too much into that's really an asinine thing to do. So I followed him to his job, and he gets out of the truck and goes, "Can I help you?" I said, "I was just wondering why you felt like you had to get on my butt." And he says, "Well, because you needed to do the speed limit." And I said, "Well, I'm going to report you," and he just made rude gestures and stuff, but whatever. But I reported him to the police. But later, I thought of the better thing that I could have said, because his truck had a license plate that had a veteran thing on it, and I wish I'd thought of it at the time, because I would have stopped, and when he said, "Can I help you?" I would have said, "I just wanted to thank you for your service. But of course, you come up with those things too late.
Yeah, you do. You do. I had one guy, here in Arizona, that we have a lot of 55 plus communities, and so it's very often that there's a lot of slow traffic out there. And I was going past one of these communities, and about 3 vehicles came out ahead of me, and they were pretty slow. And I thought, okay, it was a Saturday, I was not in a hurry. I was following them along until they kind of came up to speed eventually, which was quite a ways away. And behind me, I really hadn't paid attention that somebody was right up my back end. And, but I was, going as fast as I could with the people in front. And so, and I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee, so it's a little higher up, so he probably didn't see that there was anybody in front of me or pay attention to that, obviously. And he, does one of those, and again, here's the gesture thing, he does that scream and pull out from around me and goes around me, and obviously saying, you, and that's what I think of you. And I was actually perplexed because I had missed the whole problem, but okay, he had a problem. And I thought, okay, whatever. So I continue to drive. We get to the light, and what he has done is he has slowed down in the lane next to me so he can get next to me. And he's ready to roll up into a gas station to get away from me. But he's standing next to me, and he spits on my car. He spits at my car. And I'm like, and this is an older gentleman. It's like, really? I mean, how mature are we that we have to spit on somebody's car? And actually, I've kind of looked into that, the anger management issues with the spirituality of that someone would be that aggressive and that angry that they feel the need to spit at your car. I mean, that's just insanity right there. I mean, he shouldn't even be driving, I don't think. I think that's just too much.
There's times that I've thought, because I have cats, I thought it would be nice if I carried just like a handful of cat poop with me to throw at people who do things like that, because that's just rude.
It is. It's very, very rude. And I don't know. I just don't understand. Like I said, I have the gestures that will tell you, and you know that I'm not happy. There's no question in your mind. But very, very seldom, I will say this, and you remember me doing this. There was the movie RV, and when she's playing the tambourine and she bangs both of her boobs and her hip and all that stuff, and the gal that's watching this lets out this startled look of, like, oh, okay, how pleasant. And I think you remember years back when I would do that to people right in front of them, and they didn't notice anything, and she noticed it. She said, yeah, I've seen you do that. But they don't seem to know. They notice now. I think the country has gone in a different direction where every little nervous tick, every little anything is enough to drive them right into the ground.
Yeah, well,
absolutely crazy.
And it doesn't help that we've got all this insanity going on with, I'm not male or female. I'm a rhinestone cowboy or something,
That's true. They don't know who they are now, so I guess that's really not helping. Yeah. I think we're getting that.
They have no sense of identity anymore.
What is that disorder that I was just talking about? The personality.
Oh, the borderline personality.
Borderline personality disorder. That's what they say on there, that if people, they're not sure of who they are, that creates a whole nother bevy of problems.
And then they get exceedingly violent. Like something that might make you mad.
Very
you might
angry.
Go,
yeah.
Oh, that's irritating. They just freak out.
Yeah, they do. The drama is there, absolutely. So it's becoming a really interesting world, and I have to stop the gestures. I have to be nice.
I have this one incident that I wanted to tell you about too, happened back when my dad was still around. This was like probably almost a decade ago or more. No, it's more than a decade ago. Ooh. Anyway. He was driving somewhere, and some guy honked at him and flipped him off. So my dad told me, he said, I wouldn't have bothered to pursue the guy if he hadn't flipped me off, but since he did, I wanted to find out why. Mm-hmm. So he followed the guy to a parking lot, got out of his car, and asked the guy why he flipped him off. First, the guy denied doing it. Then he started cussing at my dad and threatening to knock my father's teeth out. Now, my father wore dentures. So he said, well, that's all that's bothering you. I'll take him out and let you play with him. hilarious. But he said that, like most bullies, the guy was all smoke and no fire, and just let it go from there. But I just thought that was like, well, that's all that's bothering me. Let me take him out and let you play.
Yeah, you could just have them here. That'd be fun. Oh my goodness. So yeah, we just again, like I said, we've been watching people with. My husband and I count the cars that do not use signals to change lanes. I know it's called a turn signal.
I just can't believe that people are so stupid that they don't understand.
I know, they just swerve into whatever lane they want, whenever they want. And
this guy I used to work for, he told me one time, he's from New York. So that must say
let's go there. Yeah.
But he was taking me to work because my car had one of its many problems. And he just swerved into the next lane, and I'm like, and he says, yeah, I just figure, I'm going fast enough that I'll get over there before they ever get there. And I'm thinking, that's not the point of signaling.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
It doesn't matter how fast you're going.
Yeah, I had a friend who told me that she was bored when she drove, so driving was really boring for her, so she would weave in and out of traffic just to stay awake. That was her reasoning there. And I remember one of the younger individuals at the office had an accident, hit a gal on a motorcycle at an intersection. And I said, well, what were you doing? And he said, well, I was adjusting my radio and didn't realize that the light had not changed to green. And he pulled out and hit her. And I said, well, now how did that work out? And he said, well, she waved to me as they put her in the ambulance. He goes, so nobody learns that maybe you shouldn't do that when you're at an intersection or something like that. So anyway, these are just some of the little difficulties that we work on in conversations with Chris and Crystal, and we would love to hear from you and have you subscribe and let us know what you think, and also yes, and also give us your input as well, and we'd love to hear your lovely traffic stories.
And remember, take care of yourself because nobody else will.
Amen.